Hey guys, Dr. Christy Ennis. Today we are going to answer your burning, pun intended, question about whether you can lose fat and weight and keep your muscle at the same time. And just so you're not on the edge of your seat this whole time, the answer is yes, you can. Woo! I know I'm not a woo girl, but I was right then. So there are actually 3 important steps that you need to take in order to have that come true. All right, number 1 is the least fun one, which is why we're going to get it out of the way first. But it is calorie restriction. So it is important if you want to lose weight, fat, or any of that stuff, that you actually do have to reduce the number of calories that you are consuming. Boo. But it's not all bad news. There actually is some good news here too. It's not probably as much as you would think. And the reason that is if you actually do too much, and they have found that 250 to 300 calories a day, any more than that, if you reduce it, actually lowers the amount of energy you expend while resting. So your resting metabolic rate, which stinks. That means basically you can eat less by doing nothing, or with you're doing nothing, and that's no fun at all. Our goal is actually to increase that resting metabolic rate. So if you cut your calories by too much, your body has no idea that you're trying to slim down and look good. It's gonna go way back to way long ago when you were trying to conserve energy, right? And not get eaten by that triceratops or woolly mammoth or whatever big animal was running around. So to do that, it lowers that resting metabolic rate. So what does that mean then for you? That means if you cut too much, if your resting metabolic rate decreases, and then you maybe try to eat a little bit more, which actually happens because your hormone leptin, which controls that hunger, actually kind of kicks in a little bit when you start to lose too much weight like that and goes, eat, because we don't want to get eaten. So if you eat too little, metabolism slows down and your hunger increases, which means that what tends to happen, you've lost all this weight and then boom, you gain it all back and then some. If you don't believe me, check Oprah's story. She actually talked about that same exact thing. So what does that actually mean then? How do you reduce those calories? Well, clearly you need to not eat as much, right? But that also means that you just need to do it by a small amount. Now, there was a study showing actually over 2 years, the people were supposed to reduce their intake by 25%, but again, that sounds awful, right? So what ended up happening was that people actually reduced their calorie intake by 12%, and they were able to maintain a weight loss of 10% over 2 years. So slow and steady wins the race in so many things, including weight loss. Now, here's the other thing. You can do this any way you want to. Now, I know there's a lot of popular diets out there, but there was actually a meta-analysis, which is a super duper research study, right? It takes a look at all of these different studies and plops out the data, showing that there really isn't any difference whether it's low calorie, low calorie does matter, whether it's low carb, low fat, all of that stuff, ketogenic, intermittent fasting. You can choose whatever you want because they all pretty much boil down to the same thing over a long-term result. Now, in the beginning, ketogenic diet and low carb do tend to help you burn calories faster, but that actually plateaus after a period of time and it all evens out again. And again, same thing, ketogenic does tend to kind of curb that appetite a little, but that goes away over time also. So in other words, yay for good news in that whatever is going to work for you to reduce some of those calories is going to work. So you can do whatever you want that works for you. All right, number 2 is actually increasing the amount of protein that you take. Now, there have been many studies done showing that that helps to maintain, preserve lean body mass just by increasing that level of protein you're taking. What does that mean, actually? And that becomes the tricky part sometimes. A lot of these studies were done based on fat-free mass, which you have to kind of go get tested in a lab. Now, there are some mobile labs coming around all over the country, not in the middle of New Hampshire where I am. But so to make it a little bit easier, if you actually think about your lean body mass, or the weight that you really want to get to, let's say it's, 20 pounds lighter, whatever that happens to be for you. you want to take about 1 gram to 1.4 grams, depending on kind of your activity level. And this is where it gets a little murky, right? You can stay closer to that 1 gram I have seen in most things, per pound of ideal body weight, right? It's really hard to know your fat-free mass. If you get that figured out, awesome, then you can use that as your calculation. But 1 gram-ish per pound of ideal body weight is really the amount of protein that you want to shoot for. And as far as the ketogenic diets go too, some of the ones that actually showed that they were far superior to other diets actually didn't control protein and calorie consumption. And when they did, they showed there wasn't a whole lot of difference. So protein really, really does make a difference, besides restricting those calories and trying to keep some of that muscle mass that we're working on. Number 3 happens to be my favorite part, which is strength training, right? Lift things up, put them down, and we're gonna pump you up. I'm really dating myself now. But what they have found is that you actually can help control some of that, or actually not even some, close to all of that fat-free mass loss. It was just about 94%, it's pretty close to all, while adding strength training into your weight loss regimen. Not necessarily just cardio, and you can do a little cardio if you want, especially if you want to help burn a little bit more calories instead of just reducing the amount you're taking. But strength training itself helps improve that, I should say really retain that fat-free mass, that lovely muscle that you really are trying to work to build. The more muscle you have, the higher your resting metabolic rate, right? Which means the more calories, you get to eat when you're just sitting there like me in your chair. Now, the other thing that they found is kind of the bestest of the best is actually increased protein and strength training combined, right? It's kind of what we just talked about a little bit, give you your most bang for your buck. So if you are able to reduce that calorie intake a little, right? You don't have to do a ton, increase that protein level, and add strength training in, roughly about 3 days a week tend to be where these studies have focused on, and they do focus on all of those major body parts, upper and lower body, not just one segment of the body. You are going to be able to be lean and mean. And if you need a little bit of help getting started with that, I do have some programs that you can take a look at below that'll get you started on your own strength routine and get you lean and mean. Thank you so much for watching today. If you would like to support me as well as reduce some pain and get rid of the appearance of that cellulite, click the link below to order your own Derma Edge, a device that I created and patented when I was going through the middle of Lyme disease in a lot of pain and needed a way to work on my own body. So the shape of the Derma Edge allows you to get all body parts in a gentle way. We're getting that fluid moving in between the layers, which helps you move better, helps get rid of that pain, and decreases that bumpiness of the cellulite. So make sure to click the link below to order your own.